Yeah. In order to label all the resources according to the Access for All standard, do you have any kind of labeling tool, or how do you do it? No. In reality, the ISO contains 3 parts. 2 is about user modeling, 3 the learning objects RD. We have a tool in the system called CP, Content Personalization, which deals with that, and the authorship is around XC, the tool that I mentioned before, so that there's an intermediate stage which is entering, reload, and completing the labeling. We don't have an automatic labeling system. It was not the objective of the project. However, we have a link with the rest of the architecture to show that it was feasible. The standard related to this are many. You have user modeling, which is including in the ISO that the AFA is modifying, but there is subjects such as IMLSSD which are not included, and we need to use IMSLib to complete the part which does not exist. Learning styles and the issues mentioned by Antonio before, but then there's other interfaces, and it's a shame that Alejandro isn't here, like CAP, which deal with modality of interaction, which is not included. So there's still gaps and overlaps in the world of standards, which make it difficult for us to provide a single solution. However, in this project we have used the state-of-the-art technology, and we have left everything open with open interfaces, with all documents open, with the idea that others will keep on working, and us too, of course, in these areas. We are in the Linked Data Network here in Spain, and we want to make this approach known. The problem that I see is mainly linked to authorship. And I see that the questions that are posed by the professors are very far from everything underlying this labeling. So I don't believe the image of a professor doing all this. I've never really believed it, but now I'm aware of this is not possible, because I've been doing this for many years, and I really believe that this should be made automatic. Yes, because these gaps you cover through technicians. Of course, in order to enable label it all, it's impossible for a teacher to do that. Well, the approach that Antonio mentioned, where you have large repositories that the professor can have access to, is what works nowadays. And there's more and more tools. Also, there's people who work in to learning object and data mining, and you use data mining techniques to try and cover the gaps not covered by the objects. So the labels can be filled with your regular tools. That's what we are trying to do. However, having in mind the whole goal is very complicated, and the problem is not whether it's in the standard, but it's the fact that it's at the head of the standard, and we have discovered that there's many gaps everywhere. Just to mention a few, you take a video, that's okay. Does it have subtitles? Yes, but where do I stop it? What parts do I choose? Is every part related to other object? Lesson is another learning object that could eventually have a link. So that is something that we are trying to introduce in EFA, but it's not in ISO, in the ISO. And how do you do the video? How do you edit the video? Through the subtitles. Yeah, subtitles are an object which can be cut into pieces, made accessible, then related in time with the images. But there's many elements, and these are very technical details which have a lot of potential and can eventually work. Valentin? Yes, I have several questions. The documentation of the project, will you upload it? Yes, we're working on it, because the reviewers have okay, the final version, And that's what we're doing right now. And then I had another question on the Math ML. I think there's navigators who don't understand it, or it's only in English. Yes. So I don't know whether you have envisaged some kind of thing depending on the subject matter. It's not the same making accessible a learning object in science than literature, where what you have is mainly text. Yes, what we've done in the project is not sort of delving in that, but showing that that is feasible in the project. That is why we have used this template, so that the professor could use it. But of course, what you say is quite so. And working with science professors who use more IT than us, we have discussed with them the needs, and each needs to be approached specifically. And that's another facet. The project tackles general issues and some specific issues, but in my viewpoint, sort of working on each of these areas would need projects. I'm Domingo Rodriguez from GNV, and I work mainly with loads of mathematics, and I wanted to make a comment on Math ML. Math ML, I always work with Math ML on Firefox, and I have never been able to use an Explorer browser. Are you aware of this problem? Yes, we are. And you need to install a math player or something. Yes, and a math jack. And you're totally right. The only thing that I can do is confirm that we have detected that problem and that we would like to use it. This comes from the ATEX. And the thing is that we need a support just like we have for the rest of the subjects that we have mentioned here. So what the system does is obvious. It uses a standard. And then what I present depends on the person, the context, the medium, the situation. This is something good for anyone, not only with people with disabilities. For example, if a student is in a bottleneck or stuck in traffic, he wants to be able to follow the class while he's trying to get out of traffic. And this is something that can only be used through a common language. When I was at university a long time ago, I remember that all professors would give me the notes in LaTeX, and I found it difficult to get used to it, but then I really got used to it. Did you foresee that possibility of editing LaTeX so that people who don't attend can see that, can have access to that? Well, this is an old fight of ours, because when I started using Word, and now I recognize that it is the best editor. But I would get very nervous because I would say, well, let the machine work on the format and let me concentrate in the content. And LaTeX, well, help me do that exactly. And this is something that got lost because of the evolution of the editors themselves, and because this, I think, is very especially used in science, especially in mathematics. And here, when we are involved in a European project, we contact with our mathematics or physics colleagues, and they are the ones who say, listen, I found this and I was doing this, and they're the ones who update us on this. But basically, the message is that you need to find a univoc format, and there seems to be an agreement, and start adding plugins other than Firefox or the Explorer. And I think that this is a very general approach which is being applied everywhere in our university. Those of us who were obliged to work on Windows, let's put it that way, were a little bit discriminated against, and this is less and less the case nowadays. Well, thank you all for attending and for your attention, and I'm here for whatever questions you may have, and you have this at the address of our website, the internet.